Welcome to 5 Minute Pitch. I'm your host, Liz Saunders. 5 Minute Pitch is the competition that gives entrepreneurs from around the globe the opportunity to virtually pitch their business or product idea for the chance to win a grand prize of $50,000. This season, more than 30 entrepreneurs will pitch their ideas via Zoom conference call to our panel of 5 experts for the chance to advance to the finals and pitch to the judges live in Miami, Florida. Our panel of expert judges includes Greg Mercer, 8-figure Amazon seller and the founder and CEO of Jungle Scout. Michael Jackness, a serial entrepreneur who has spent the past few years building a high 7-figure e-commerce conglomerate while blogging and podcasting about all of it along the way at Ecom Crew. Steve Chu, the son of 2 tiger parents, Steve Chu started 2 7-figure businesses while working full-time as an engineering director. He now runs Bumblebee Linens and MyWifeQuitHerJob.com. Scott Voker, a serial entrepreneur who went from a construction worker to building multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. He is also the host of the Amazing Seller Podcast, a top-rated business podcast that has over 12 million downloads to date. Today we are joined by guest judge Andrew Udarian. Andrew has started and sold multiple e-commerce businesses and is the founder of E-Commerce Fuel, a private community for 7-figure plus e-commerce sellers. This week on 5 Minute Pitch.
Tabletop board games have been on a rise in popularity for the past several years. Players all share a common problem, however, and that is a lack of interesting and realistic decorations for their battles.
How long does it take to print one?
For this model that you're looking at, which is about 8 inches, it took 6 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was a market that I wasn't aware of until Mike Jackness showed me his Dungeons & Dragons board. So I do have a little bit of familiarity with this.
Have you seen his outfit?
Yeah.
The outfit's better than the board.
Today we meet Nikolaus of Pandora's Box Gaming. A recent graduate and mechanical engineer, Nikolaus is looking to enhance the tabletop gaming experience by creating realistic tree models. These tree models help create a scene that allows players to have the most fun in their tactical battles with friends. Welcome, Nikolaus. This is 5 Minute Pitch.
Nikolaus, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Great, thank you. Welcome to the 5 Minute Pitch. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Tabletop board games have been on a rise in popularity for the past several years. So much so that the #1 category on the crowdfunding platform Kickstarter is games. Thousands of companies are creating new games and new ways to enjoy them. Games Workshop is one of those companies, and they focus specifically on tabletop miniature war games. This one company has over 1 million dedicated players who play these games to escape to another world where they are master tacticians in epic battles. These players also spend hundreds of dollars each year on intricate game pieces for these games, allowing Games Workshop to gross over 158 million British pounds in 2017. These players all share a common problem, however, and that is a lack of interesting and realistic decorations for their battles. This lack of realism leads to a disconnect from the game, where players are not enjoying their escape as much as they should be. Think about it. If you're in the middle of a tense back and forth game, nothing's going to take you out of it faster than if you have to ask your opponent whether or not your troops can see through the clear plastic bottle you're using for decoration. Even the players that do have realistic decorations have done so at a cost, time. It can take several hours to make realistic decorations. One tree could take you several hours. This basic armature took me over 2 hours, and it's not even painted. I have a solution for these players, and that is realistic tree models. I need 3 things to make these models a reality. 1 is photographable trees, 2 is 3D scanning software, and 3 is 3D printers. Photographable trees are important so that way I have a subject for my models to be created from. The 3D scanning software, photogrammetry, uses images from all angles of an object to create a model of that object, in this case, the trees. And the 3D printers, with their layer-by-layer technology, allows me an affordable option to bring these organic shapes to life.
Nikolaus plans to offer the trees as both downloadable files and as physical products. The digital files would be sold online, and the physical products would be available on demand. So how would he use the $50,000 in his production?
The first plan would be to acquire an optimized machine for the 3D scanning software. Right now, with my hardware from 2008, it takes around 45 hours to make one tree. With an optimized machine, it would take 9 hours or less, giving me a lot more time to frequently add models to an ever-growing library for my customers. Secondly, I would use the money to acquire a high-quality camera drone. This would allow me to get more intricate angles of the trees, which mean higher detailed models for my customers. And finally, I would use the money to help acquire a massive 3D printers, so that way I could handle any sort of real demand for the physical product.
3D printing is optimal for Nikolaus because it drastically reduces production costs and allows for totally unique and customized designs. Let's see what other information he's got for the judges.
I myself am uniquely situated to bring this product to market because I have experience in the exact fields required. I have experience selling digital files through Kickstarter and Gumroad, raising $600 in the past 3 months. I have experience managing a print-on-demand service where I priced, printed, and delivered products to customers. And I have experience overcoming issues in this field thanks to my time teaching a class on it, in which I often had to deal with difficult modeling challenges, broken machines, and even worse, difficult people. So please, choose me to move on to the next round so we can capture reality and help people enjoy their escape more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsor.
Mike Jackness with 5 Minute Pitch here to talk to you guys about Klaviyo, the best of breed email marketing for e-commerce. We use Klaviyo for our e-commerce stores, which are now driving 45% of our revenue. That's right, 45% of our revenue is coming through email marketing because Klaviyo makes it so easy to make segments, send out emails, and then synchronize that with Facebook audiences so we can run targeted ads. So go check out Klaviyo today and talk to you soon.
Nikolaus gave a great pitch about his niche product. Let's see what questions the judges have for him.
For the 3D printing stuff for the models, is it all trees? Is that like the niche you're going for, or would there be other objects as well down the line?
That is eventually the game plan, to have kind of the whole suite people can choose from to make a table, not just trees.
So is this a market, Nikolaus, where people are already selling, maybe it's not trees, but some kind of props for these type of war games? Like, is this a sub-niche within the gaming niche already?
Yes, it is.
It is, okay. Is there a way that you could get started? I mean, you talked about building out, 3D printers and scanners and all these kind of things, which once you're at scale, it sounds like it could potentially, be a great idea. But to get started doesn't sound like you've necessarily sold anything quite yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Not trees, no.
Could you get started by just making them by scratch or by hand, even if it was a little bit more work? Do you have to buy all that equipment up front before you test the market?
Certainly not. I have actually gone through and figured out a couple different scales that I could start at, depending on if I win or depending on how well a Kickstarter would go. I would definitely, at very least, need $130, so that way I could have the rights to the 3D scanning software to actually make money and own the copies of the files legally.
You said it takes 9 hours to print one of these? If you were to sell the actual product?
Would be for the 3D scanning software to compute it if I had a higher end computer.
What about to produce them for sale? You would print these, right?
Correct.
And how long does it take to print one?
For this model that you're looking at, which is about 8 inches, it took 6 hours.
Okay.
To 3D print the trees, the cost of materials is extremely low, but the cost of time is very high. Nikolaus hopes to mitigate this time cost with the addition of multiple, more advanced 3D printers.
But would the 3D printers really just do like proof of concept, or is that like going to be your production?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because 6 hours per object, you're not going to be able to make that many, right?
No, only make 4 per day.
Yeah.
But yeah, my idea was that they would be the final production. I was envisioning that more of the sales would actually be from the digital files rather than the physical models.
What do you think you could, what would the retail price be for the model that you held up, that 8-inch tree model that you had there?
$10 to $20, depending on how nice I could get it and how I can get the cost.
Is there anything right now that's selling like that tree, but maybe not as detailed as yours, but they're buying it for their game now?
Yes, there is.
And what is the cost? What are they paying for that?
They are paying around $25 for a tree slightly bigger than this with some kind of fake foliage on it.
Have you gone and started to sell these yet? Have you tried to sell these at all?
No, I have not. I've kind of been slowly working through the process because it takes so long for the models to actually get generated from my computer. I've just been growing a mass. That way I can hit a Kickstarter and be like, I have the models ready. Let's raise the money. So that way I can produce more.
If you invested in different 3D models or 3D printers, could you get that 6 hours down to something like half an hour with a much better, a printer that was 2 or 3 times as much money?
Not really, no.
No, okay.
Even at a half an hour, that's still not that many units. So how many designs have you sold up until this point?
Of the trees, 0. They haven't hit the market.
What kind of demand is there for this? Because in my head, I'm thinking to myself, like, why aren't we just kind of like skipping that part of the process, getting something to the market, getting some sales that can fund this other thing? Like, let's get there quicker. But if the demand isn't there, then I might not even go to the extent of what you're talking about.
Nicholas does not currently have hard data on the demand. He is following the trend of a very large and successful Kickstarter campaign that generated a heavy amount of interest in tabletop gaming decorations, including buildings, structures, and trees.
So just give me some numbers on that. What's a good Kickstarter for that?
The biggest one I've seen is $300,000 with, I think that was 7,000 backers.
Where would most tabletop gamers purchase items like this?
So there's a big marketplace called Drive-Thru RPG, which is kind of more geared towards the D&D players. Otherwise, most people tend to have their own personal websites that they funnel traffic to.
Because I see there's like model trees on Amazon for much, much cheaper. Do you feel like most gamers feel like those aren't of adequate quality, or they don't hold some of the attributes, or like, so what are your thoughts around that?
Most of the ones that I've seen are like 2 inches tall, and they don't really fit the awe factor that people are looking for. Like one model for their like game piece could cost $45, highly intricate. They spend hours painting it. And then when you put it next to a tiny tree that doesn't look good, it kind of also ruins your fun.
For marketing, Nicholas hopes to have his products reviewed by social media influencers in both the model terrain making space and tabletop gaming space. He also plans to take samples of his trees to local gaming shops for display and interaction during their open gaming nights.
Okay. Well, Nicholas, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank you,
it.
man.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
The judges were intrigued by Nicholas's product, but see some potential challenges to this pre-revenue business. Let's see if the judges move him on to the next round.
He's involved with this niche of the tabletop boarding niche, which is very popular and I think growing very fast right now. And he wants to do this niche where has just the trees 3D printed. I was a little thrown off by this because I looked on Amazon during this presentation, and there was other kits of like 20 trees for like $7, and he wants to sell his for significantly more than that. So I'm a little bit skeptical about that. At the same time, you know, when he said that other people are buying their main action figure dude for like $45, $50, it starts to make sense. And they're really going for quality, not like this mass-produced quantity aspect of it. So it's kind of an interesting business pitch.
Yeah, I mean, this was a market that I wasn't aware of until Mike Jackness showed me his Dungeons & Dragons board. So I do have a little bit of familiarity with this.
Have you seen his outfit?
Yeah.
The outfit's on the board.
The numbers didn't add up for me. I think it was you could produce 6 a day if you were to print them at an extremely high price premium. And like Greg said, you could get these on Amazon for significantly cheaper. And then it wasn't actually clear to me whether you'd be able to sell the design or whether there'd be a clear demand for the design.
At first blush, I really like the niche. I mean, this is the kind of niche where you have very passionate hobbyists, so they're willing to spend a premium on something.
Right, really good margins, right?
Really good
That,
margins.
yeah.
But the two things that started to concern me, one was, and I don't know if this was an issue of, you know, him being an engineer and being in the space, and you know, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But instead of trying to test it and iterate and kind of get going quickly, his first plan was to build out a huge tech platform, a ton of like 3D scanners to scan real trees and make models, you know, unique models of lots of different trees. And I found that those would not have been priorities I would have gone with. And the second thing was, when we asked him why he hadn't moved forward, his reasons were because he needed $100-ish for licensing software and he wanted to use the money to start a store. Well, you know, Shopify's $30 a month, $100, $150 is not a hurdle that's you know, it's impossible to come over. And so if you can't get over that, it gave me maybe some reservations about the ability to get through some of the other challenging parts of things.
Yeah, I think a little early. And I think also I would make 4 or 5 trees and then I'd list them on Amazon and I'd see what would happen. But there's a lot of guessing here. There's a lot of like, I think this will work. And so I personally just think that maybe you just got to raise a little bit of capital on your own, $1,000 or whatever, to get in the game.
I mean, starting with the good, I mean, I know that this is like this really deep, passionate niche where people spend tons of money. He talked about that. The disconnect for me is getting from there to something that's scalable enough to use like a $50,000 prize money thing where you were all talking about for $1,000 or $2,000 you can prove this proof of concept. And so I just concerned there's like a little bit of a disconnect between all these different pieces. And we've had a couple other pre-revenue things that we've let go through because I could bridge the gap in my mind of where they can go and there's such potential. I just wasn't really feeling it there and kind of left at the end of the pitch not being 100% convinced.
So let's do some voting. I'll get it started with, I'm going to give it a no. I think he's off to something, a strong start here. If he would have come into this saying he'd already sold 50 or 100 units, I'd probably actually vote it yes. But because it is pre-revenue and some of the other things, I'm going to vote no.
Yeah, I don't think selling it, the printed version, is going to be a viable model just because it just takes too long to print. And it's unclear if you were to sell the design that someone like Mike who plays Dungeons & Dragons would actually have a digital printer or a physical printer to even...
Of course I do, Steve. I got to be able to put my dragon.
Okay, my bad.
And my 20-sided dice.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, I love the idea. I thought the idea had promise. The approach worried me, and so I'm going to have to say no.
Yeah, I think a little early. I think I'd rather have heard him come in and say that he's sold 10 trees, but there is nothing there yet. So for that reason, I'm going to say no.
I'm a no as well for all those same reasons. No reason to say the same things. But we definitely appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nicholas.
In the future, if you have some more sales, come back and try another on season 2 that we might.
Thank you for your pitch, Nicholas, and good luck with your business. Next time on 5-Minute Pitch.
My passion is parties. Party in a Box aims to be a one-stop shop for a Pinterest-worthy party.
So Amanda, I really enjoyed your video, although it was a little bit too realistic. And if I were to get one of those boxes, no one would ever believe that I could produce a party like that. But you mentioned in your presentation that you could just take 50K and go to 1.5 million.
She seems very passionate about the Party in the Box idea, though. And she's a proven, successful business lady. She's making significant money